Oh, hello everybody. Hello, hello. So we're going to do a little sample problem here that will help you with your homework and show you some really cool stuff. I mean, if you want to really make an impression on your boss, this is going to be a good way to start. We're going to do, in chapter 7, we're going to do problem number 3, the lemonade stand. So if you want to open your book up and take a look at that real quick, I'll just do a little pause and just pause your little recording here and do that, and we'll be back in a second. Okay, I'm going to assume that you're back, and it talks about Matt Schmidt, whoever the hell that is, has spent $750 for a tent, table, chairs for his lemonade stand. I don't know, seems like kind of an old guy to be selling lemonade to kids. I'd be a little creeper there. I don't know. I'm just saying. He figures he can sell a glass of lemonade in the park to Little League players for 75 cents. His cost per drink is 20 cents. He has some napkins and cups and other variable expenses at 5 cents per glass of lemonade sold. He will open his business on June 1 and be open 5 days each week for the summer months of June through August. He'll spend his parents, okay, so he's a younger guy, but $2 each day to transport him to his and his materials to the park. Okay, he projects he's going to sell 100 glasses of lemonade. So the three questions are: what's the contribution margin? What's the break-even point? And what day of the summer will he break even? So let's take a look at that. And you can see here I've done this to speed up the process so we can take a look at it. So we can see here we got the units sold that he's anticipating, the price at 75, the fixed cost at 750. So the first question is, what is his contribution margin? Well, if we take the cost per drink plus his other variable cost, that's going to give us our total variable cost per unit. So and we know that contribution margin is the selling price minus the variable cost per unit. So if we take his beverage cost, as we talked about, was 20 cents. His napkin, cups, and other stuff he's got is 5 cents. And then 2 cents for transportation. That's a little tricky. You know, it says there's going to be $2 per day, and he's going to make 200 glasses he's going to sell, so that comes out to 2 cents for transportation cost, right? Because it's a variable cost, it varies by day. So that gives total 27 cents variable cost. So if we take the 75 cents that he's selling it for minus the 27, that gives us a contribution margin of 48 cents. Now the next question was, what's his break-even point in units, given that he wants to cover all his costs? Okay, so break-even will be his total fixed cost divided by his contribution margin, which is the selling price minus the variable cost per unit, right, equals the total units sold at break-even. So 750 divided by 75 selling price minus his variable cost. Divide that out, do the math. It comes out to 1637. So we can see, or 1563, sorry. The third question was, what day of the summer will he break even? Well, again, the equation for that is he takes the lemonade sold to break even, divide it by the lemonade sold per day, and that'll give him the number of days. So we got from right up here, 1563 divided by 100, which is the number of lemonade sold per day, equals 16.3, or the 16th day of the month, or if you want to be precise, Monday, June 22nd. Now, what I've done over here, I'll just highlight that real quick for you, but what I've done in this area here is just made a little spreadsheet based on this data over here. And to speed things up, rather than me typing it all out and showing you how to do it, I'm just going to go through a power explanation with you here. So here what we've done is we've created the 20 days that he's going to work per month, okay, for the month. Now we could have extended this out for the whole summer, but let's just look at the month. And so this is the day 1, day 2 that he's open for operation. Now I'm going to show you a little trick here, a little way that you can create this yourself without having to type in all these numbers. I'm just going to delete this out real quick. But if you highlight these two numbers here, it's going to detect, Excel is going to detect a pattern in those numbers. And if you just copy and paste these down, one more, there we go, voila. It does the pattern and just fills it in for you automatically. So now we know that he's going to sell 100 units per day. So if we look at the total number of units sold over time, all it is it's going to be 100 units times this, okay? 100 units times that, and 100 units times that. So the way we create this formula is we take M6, which is the day 1, and we're going to multiply it by C2. Now, if you notice, C2 is the units sold right up here. You also notice, if you look over here, that there's dollar signs in between, in front of the C and in front of the 2. What that means is we're going to make this constant. Okay, so we're making that cell constant in our equation. So, like, for example, if you look down here, you'll notice that it's M7, which is right here, okay, the day, 2 days, day 2, times, and again, it keeps this constant, C2. So we're back up to here. So again, it's multiplying it by the 100. You do the same thing. If you copy and paste and pull this down, it will fill these entire fields right here based on that. And in a similar way, we're going to look at the revenue. Okay, so what do we know that the revenue is? Well, the revenue is going to be the units sold times 75 cents over here, the price. So again, we created an equation equals C3 with the dollar signs, because we're going to keep that constant, right, times N6. And again, that's the units sold. If we do this, we'll notice that the only thing that changes as we move down is N7 and 8, but the C3 remains constant. And again, if you just copy and paste that down, you'll get that. Fixed cost is real simple. All we're going to do is that doesn't change. Why? Because it's fixed, right? So we know that that's going to be equals C4. So all we're going to do is keep this constant. And I'm going to show you in a minute why I'm doing it this way as opposed to just putting in 750 and copying it down. I'm going to show you the elegance of that in a minute. So, so we've done that, copied and pasted that down, and you'll see that that just stays constant across all cells. And then we're going to take our total expenses. This gets a little more tricky, and we know our total expenses is our variable cost plus our fixed costs, right? So now what we're going to do here is get our variable costs by taking the right here, right, L7. Let's go back up here. L7, which is going to remain constant, and that's our variable cost per unit. So it's dollar signs L, dollar sign 7, because we want to keep that constant, times N6, which is right here. And you'll notice that we put that in brackets because we're going to let it do it. It's called an operand, and we're going to do it, let it do its operand there, and then we're going to add P6. Okay, what's P6? P6 is our fixed cost. And again, we're going to copy and paste that down. Then finally, we're going to determine our profit. And our profit is simply going to be our revenues minus our total expenses. So O6 minus Q6, right here, gives us this. Okay, so that's how we generated this. Now I'm going to show you how to create a really cool CVP chart that is dynamic and interactive and really powerful. So let's jump into that right now. So all we're going to do to create a break-even chart, which is really what it's called. Most people call it break-even chart, but we'll call it CVP, whatever you want to call it. We're going to just highlight units sold, revenues, fixed, and total expenses. We're going to go into Insert, go over to Charts, and we're just going to choose a line chart. Let's just choose this one here, and boom, what do we got? A nice little chart. Some labels on it, units sold. Well, what we need to do is we need to get this units sold down on the x-axis. I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute. So let's just go over here, click on it, hit Select Data, and we're going to edit the units sold. Okay, so let's just hit Edit here, and it comes up and it's asking you, what is the axis label range that you want? Well, we want the units sold, so we're going to highlight that. Hit OK. and you'll see that these units sold changed. Hit OK again, and you'll see that now the units are correct on the x-axis. We really don't need that unit line up there, so let's just kind of get rid of that. So let's go back over here and just deselect that, hit OK, and now we've got a break-even chart. Okay, you can see this is our revenue line moving up here. This is our fixed cost, and we can see here this is our total expenses. So now we can have some fun. You can start to change the colors of these lines if you want. You can add chart elements to it. If you go into the quick layout, you can just experiment with different styles of charts that you might want. Ooh, that one doesn't look good. I'm not so sure about that. That's nothing special there. That's crazy looking. That's kind of like not too bad. Let's go with that. And then if you want, you can change the colors. Let's just say we want to change this and just right click it. Change that to green. We can leave the others the way that they are. Let's just maybe move this one and change that to red because that's our expenses there. So total costs right there. So we want to do that. And now you can see here that we've got our total revenues and fixed and total costs. We can see that where our break-even point is. And you'll notice how these things, if I just kind of pull this over here a minute, line up with the data that we have here. We also know that each one of these units is also a day. So we can determine, what are the number of days that it would take, and we said it was about the 16th day, and if you look down here, that's just right about, it was like 15.63. You can see that that's our break even in days. There's our break even in terms of total expenses and revenues, total volume break even point. So you can come up here and change this, and we'll call it CVP, and whoops, sorry about that. There we go. And you can change the axis type. You can change whatever you want with this, and be creative when you do your homework. If you want to, you can add other elements to it. If you like different things like grid lines or anything you want, you can add to this this chart. Okay. So right here, and we can expand it out, make it look a little bigger. Come on, let's go. And now here's the really cool thing I want to show you. Let me move it over here. Okay. Let's just say that now you want to experiment and use different models. Okay. All you have to, let's just say that he finds out that he can't get the tent for all that stuff, and it's going to increase his fixed cost to $1,000. So we're going to change his fixed cost to $1,000. What happens? Boom. See how the chart changes. Okay, and all of the break-even points and dollars and units and all that start to change as well. Let's just say that he says, okay, well, if I got to do that, then I'm going to have to charge $1 for this. What's that going to do to my situation? And you can, whoops, kind of change that over to 1, not 100. My bad. And you can see here, again, it's changing dynamically. Now, tell me if that wouldn't be a cool thing to have in your organization, in your company, and for your boss. You can experiment with any different array of things. If you want to even add the profit line in there, I'll just show you how to do that. All you need to do is just highlight this, okay, and do a little copy, and come over here and paste. Like I said, paste. There we go. And guess what? It just added that blue line for your profit. Okay, so now you've got your revenue line, your total expense line, your fixed cost line, and your profit line. Okay, and one final thing before we go. Wanted to show you how to insert a linear regression equation for any one of these lines, but the profit line is the interesting one. Let me show you how it works and what it means. So if I go over here and I go to add chart elements and I hit trend line, okay, and come down here to more trend line options, select the profit line and hit OK. I'm going to get a pop-up of all of these different options here. I'm just going to show you this real quick. If I put display equation on the chart and display the r squared value. All right, and then close this out so we can take a look at it. You'll notice that it has inserted a linear regression equation for this line. So y equals 0.48x minus 750. In other words, it's telling you that we can use it as a predictive model rather than trying to go through all of this to find out what's going on, where at any time you can determine what your profit will be at various levels of volume. X is your volume, so it's going to be 0.48 times whatever volume you insert, 1,000, 2,000, whatever, minus 750 will give you Y, or your profit. Now in this case I did this R squared so you understand that that's a perfectly fit line. In other words, it's a perfect correlation. This particular equation is a perfect correlation to that. Very powerful. Again, that is a linear equation, right? It's a linear regression equation model that you can use for predicting the future. So that's all I wanted to say about that, and we will catch you next time. I hope you found this useful, and hope you really embrace these ideas.